Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for inspired conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, publisher of Inspire magazine, and passionate about bringing you conversations, stories, experiences that will inspire, empower, and support you in living your best life. And for over almost 6 years now, I've been bringing you those conversations. And I have to tell you something. It's an inspiration to me when I hear about women's journeys and how they've transformed their lives and how they share, like my guest today will be, these powerful resources and tools that we can all use to transform our lives. So, my friends, do you struggle with doubt around decisions, uncertain direction, and reluctance to move forward or make a change in your life? I know I can raise my hand to that one. I think we all struggle with that at times. Do you often have to ask others what you should do, but you never get a satisfactory answer? It's almost like you're always looking outside yourself for the answers. Well, my friends, understanding your human design can move you from a place of distrust to being in touch with your inner wisdom so that you can gain the clarity and certainty that you're looking for. Joining me today is Nancy OKeefe, certified human design specialist, intuitive coach, and compassionate transformer, who helps women peel back the layers of who they've been taught to be to reveal who they truly are so they can live their inner truth, go after their deepest desires, and create a life filled with success, satisfaction, and joy. She has such a transformational story. As a young widow with 2 children and just a few skills, Nancy was forced to become the breadwinner before women even had careers. Believing you can do anything you want to if you want it bad enough, she went from receptionist to company vice president and on to founder, are you listening to this, and CEO of her own multi-7-figure firm. Nancy has been developing and coaching people for over 2.5 decades, helping them bring out their best qualities, build confidence, and feel empowered to go after what they want in life. She's also a certified executive coach for the College of Executive Coaching, holds an MBA from Babson in entrepreneurship. This list goes on. She's a certified career transition coach, fascination advantage advisor, and certified in conversational intelligence. And of course, she is passionate about human design. Welcome, my dear friend.
Well, thank you, Linda. I appreciate being here. Looking forward to talking with you.
Well, I'm super excited because, I've known you for a while now, and I was blessed to actually have a human design meeting with you. And I'm like, oh, people have to know about this. We've got to get you on the show. And because, as you know, I was so blown away but by the insights that you shared in my human design chart, Nancy, but also a lot of it was validating for me. So let's dive right in and help my audience understand what is human design and how can knowing your design help you in your life?
Well, we all come into the world hardwired to operate a certain way with certain skills and talents that are inherent in our energies. And unfortunately, through the course of being socialized in our life and taught in school, our well-meaning parents helping us understand how to behave and act, how we're wired kind of gets diluted and broken down over time. When we get to be adults, we really have forgotten who we came into the world to be and what skills and talents we have that we came in to use to support us in that life purpose. So it's something that I'm passionate about. Human design is such a great tool to help you see what your energy footprint is and to help you understand the energies that you have in your chart so that you can really be true to yourself, not only by acting the way you're supposed to act and be in the world, but also by making aligned choices for yourself and really understand how to operate those energies for your highest and best self.
And you know what I love about it, Nancy, too, is it helps you understand yourself on a personal level. But you're an entrepreneur, I am too, and many of our friends are. It also gives us a deeper understanding, if as an entrepreneur, about how we navigate in this world as our unique self.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing is it's not like it tells you, oh, you can be an accountant or you need to be this, that, or the other thing. It's really about understanding the energies in your chart, understanding how to live them out in their highest expression, and then just going forth and doing whatever feels right for you. One of the things that I was astonished to learn as I was studying human design is that we're taught to make decisions in a way that really does not work for any of us. We're all taught to think it through, be logical, weigh the pros and cons, when in fact, the right decision-making authority depends heavily on your human design type. And the center that is your secret sauce for decision-making is never the head, regardless of what type you are. It's in other parts of the body, and it's really about how things feel to you, not about the logic and how things can be thought out.
Oh, that makes sense to me. And I love that you explained in this. And what I love about how you explain human design is you make it so simple to understand, right? Just your way of bringing it to us. I know that all our listeners are going, yes, I want to know more. So, what is a human design energy type, and how do I know? How do our readers know? Because I know what mine is. How do our listeners know what theirs is?
Well, there are 5 types, and there are clues along the way. If you understand each of the types, you may be able to tell what a person's type is just by being around them. I'll just briefly tell you what the 5 types are. It's really a great system for how things can get done in the world. The first type is a manifester. They're the starters, the initiators. They're the ones that are supposed to get us started with new ideas and new ways of doing things. There's only about 9% of the people in the world that are manifestors. And then you have generators, and that makes up about 70% of the world. They're the energizer bunnies, the worker bees, and they're divided into 2 types, a generator and a manifesting generator. So a manifesting generator is all about speed. They can do things really fast. And if you think about the old fable between the tortoise and the hare rushing to the finish line, the hare was up and back and around and all over the place. The tortoise was slow and methodical, making its way toward the finish line. They both got there, but different speed, different way of doing it. And the hare sometimes had to miss steps and go back and fix what they didn't do or do it differently to get to the finish line. So there's different ways of working in the world, and that's represented by the generator types. Then we have projectors. There's about 20% of us that are projectors, and the projectors are kind of like the managers of the world. They can see inside of us and they can help us understand what our potentials are and what our blocks are. They're here to guide the rest of us. And then finally, about 1% of the population is a reflector. And a reflector is like the mirror for the rest of us. They kind of give us guidance on how we're doing in the world. So if you think of putting on a play, the people that actually do the script writing are the manifestors. The actors are the generators. The producer and the director are the projectors. And the audience are reflectors, clapping or booing, depending on how we're doing on stage. That's kind of a good way to look at it, a great metaphor.
That is so helpful. And as you know from when I had my reading with you, I'm a generator. And when you were telling me about what a generator is, I remember you saying, oh my God, the work you're doing in the world is in such divine alignment. Does a lot of times when you do the readings, do people get those kind of insights like I did? It was like, wow, you just nailed me from the inside out. I'm trying to put it into words, but some of the language you use is language I use inside myself all the time.
Yeah. Isn't
Remember,
it amazing?
I kept saying, this is blowing me away. This is blowing me away.
Well, and the thing is, it's, when we're looking at our human design chart, it's kind of a confusing looking body graph thing, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. But when you work with someone who understands how to read your chart for you, then you can start to see the energies and how they align and what you're here to do. Now, you already know this. I mean, you came into the world knowing this. So no, there's probably no big surprises for anybody when they get a human design reading. It is a lot about validation. It's a lot about going, oh, that's why I feel this way, or oh, that's why my life, rolled out the way it did. And it helps people see how they could better use their energy or validate the fact that they're just really on the right path. Do more of that. The big key is to really understand yourself, because we are sort of forced to conform. Let's think of the world of work as an example. It's a little softer now, but we used to have to dress a certain way. There's business speak. There's a certain way of behaving in terms of business etiquette. We're taught and told how to do that. There's a formula for success. And all of that, frankly, is bunk, because everybody is different. Everybody is unique. No two people came into the world exactly the same way. Even though there are only 5 types, there are so many other layers. If you think of your type as sort of your basic frame, like the bones of who you are, and then you add the layers of muscles and skin, and you've got things like circuits and channels and lines and all of that in your chart that helps to further define who you are. So it's eye-opening. It brings you an awareness, a remembrance, if you will, of who you are, and it gives you confidence, and it helps empower you to be the person you came here to be.
Yeah, the word you said that really resonated was validated. It validated that my understanding of myself and how my path is unfolded.
Yeah.
Because it was never a conscious choice. I just kept following my gut, following my inner knowings. I didn't make decisions ever from my head, from a plan. And then when you went through the reading, that's exactly how I'm wired.
Exactly.
Is to go with the knowings in the gut.
Now, you had a big advantage, because you've already done in your life a lot of deep inner work before, we talked about your human design. But there are some people that are so far afield of who they are that they are completely burnt out on a number of levels. They can feel tired all the time. They can be unhappy, depressed. If you're not living true to who you are, sometimes getting a reading and remembering that facet about yourself that you kind of tucked away because society said, oh, well, we don't need any of that. And a lot of that goes on, especially at work. But there's certain characteristics that are very much valued and others that aren't. As an example, introverts sometimes have difficulty at work because our work world is more about being out there. If you're in sales, as an example, that's such an extroverted activity. And, really the only people that can be starters and initiators are manifestors. The rest of us really struggle. That's why so many people hate sales, as an example. So when you understand that about yourself, you can stop beating yourself up about, well, gee, the rest of the world seems to be able to do this. Why can't I? That's not the case at all. There are a lot of other people struggling just like you are. So it just really helps to push the blame away. Stop, beating yourself up. Be careful about the words you use with yourself and how you have that relationship with yourself, and make sure that you're honoring that. That's really the first step.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because this is a great tool for deeper understanding of yourself, no matter where you are on the journey, right? And
Right.
I think if you're struggling with something in your life, it's another powerful tool, as you just said, to give you a new lens to view yourself at. Because I believe so many of us walk around with self-judgment and labeling ourselves because we're comparing ourselves to others, not understanding that we have a divine blueprint. And and that's what this is. And we're going to take a break real quick, Nancy. When we come back, I want to dive deeper into this. And I want to invite everyone, please go to nancyokeefecoaching.com. You'll see a beautiful free gift on her site and get to know more about Nancy's services and offerings. We'll be right back, my friends.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM radio network.
Inspiration for a Woman's Soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Hey America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTRFM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. With me today is Nancy OKeefe, and we're talking about human design, my friends. Nancy is a certified human design specialist, intuitive coach, and a compassionate transformer, and she's passionate about this topic. And it is just so amazing to me that we all have access to this tool and to someone like Nancy who can walk us through it. So Nancy, why is learning to trust your inner wisdom so important? And what happens when we don't?
Well, first of all, only you have the right answers. But our tendency is to go around and ask everybody else what we should do, how we should think, what's going on here, when in fact, nobody knows you like you do. But we lack the confidence sometimes to trust ourselves, or we may not even be in touch with our inner wisdom, so we can't get at the answers that are inside of us. And I like to think of trust as listening to yourself. And then, there's intuition involved. There's just your gut feelings. There's a lot of components that your body gives you that you can listen to, but we're out of touch with that. We don't often get the cues. It might be a pain in your left shoulder or something. You might feel a little backache, and that might indicate maybe you're not being supported in the situation that you're in. There are a lot of subtle clues that the body gives you, and then there are some that aren't so subtle. And if we continue down a path that's not right for us, over time, we can burn out, even become sick, and have our immune system be compromised, because it takes a lot of energy to be something you're not or do something that's not right for you. It takes way less energy to be in the flow and do things that are aligned with who you truly are.
And I know that resonates for my listeners. Isn't that what we're all yearning for?
Exactly.
I believe it's like just a human and a spiritual need to be able to be at peace within our own self.
Right. So about trusting yourself, I have a little tool, like hint reminder you can use to think about this. So the word trust, T-R-U-S-T, the first T is for transparency. It's about really seeing things the way they are. Now, our brain is a magnificent organ, but it does some things to us that, sometimes color things a different way. For example, we can have experiences that are stored in a part of our brain that when we see something that's like that, those experiences come flooding back. And if they're negative experiences, we can, not see things clearly. We can be putting a story around things as opposed to just seeing the facts of the situation. For example, if you're somebody who had a bad experience in second grade and the teacher reprimanded you for something, anytime somebody reprimands you around that same type of thing, those feelings are going to come flooding back. and they are going to taint the way you look at the situation. You may make some judgments that aren't really true. The second letter is R, and I use that as the word for relationship, and I'm talking about a relationship with yourself, really understanding who you are, and then watching yourself talk. How are you talking to yourself? How are you, communicating? Are you beating yourself up? Are you holding yourself to judgments that are somebody else's idea of the way things are supposed to be? It's really about listening to yourself and connecting with yourself on a deep level where you can really feel into how you want to handle this and not look at what everybody else is doing. It's very hard because we all want to be accepted and loved. Being lovable is one of the most important things as a human being. And if we feel like we're bucking the status quo or doing something a little bit different, there's a lot of fear around that, fear that we won't be accepted and we won't be loved. So U is for understanding your energies. And that's really getting into what you came into the world to do and be, how you're wired, what you're here to accomplish, what's your life purpose, really understanding that at a level that helps you be in alignment with every choice you make. The S is for stop hiding. Take off your mask, and I'm not talking about COVID here. Take off the mask you're hiding behind, the facade that you wear so that you can look like everybody else and be yourself. You're here as a divine cosmic event, one of a kind. And we need what you have. We need your differences. That's why you're here with those differences. But when we hide them and we look like everybody else, we have a bunch of red apples. Well, that's great. And then there's a Granny Smith apple. Happens to be my favorite flavor of apple. But, if we feel like we have to paint that apple red because the green apple is like the rest of them, then aren't we losing the beauty of the green apple? And that's what's happening when you hide your differences. Differences are really an important, juicy part of who you are. And yet we're taught to hide them. Sometimes we're taught to fear them and even hate them, which is just so wrong because we're all here to make our valuable contribution, whatever that is, and each and every one of us has it. And finally, the last T is about tell yourself the truth. Really listen to your body. Don't let fear speak for you. Don't let the feelings that you have around your lovability or your self-worth speak for you. Tell yourself the truth about what's going on and listen to your inner guidance. And that comes to you in many forms. It can come to you as a little ping in the body, as I mentioned. It can be a thought. It can be a little voice in your head. Everybody is a little bit different, and getting in touch with that is important. And really, the way to do that is to spend some time each day in a quiet place, just closing your eyes and listening and feeling. It takes practice because we're all on the treadmill of life and we're not, conditioned at this point to take that time for ourselves. But whatever little ritual you can create for yourself, do it every day and help to tune in to what your body and your mind and your being has to say to you. So trust, TRUST.
Nancy, that's powerful. I have them all written down here. One of the things that really resonated too is when you said, tell yourself the truth, right? Because I think we allow our mind, that I call it negative Nelly, if I think everyone has a word for it. And it wasn't until I started saying, you know what? You're not going to keep running the show here. And it was when I did exactly what you said and started getting quiet, which I'll be honest, everyone, you may all know me now over the last decade and a half. But for 3.5 decades, I was the one that didn't like to be alone with myself. My mother said I would keep so busy, Nancy. She goes, do you ever stop? I see now, because I'm further along on the spiritual path, I was running from myself. The thought of being still scared the hell out of me. And that was because I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts. So everything you just described, like it all begins with going within, by being honest, by being still. So for those who say, I can't do that, I get it. Nancy, have you ever struggled with that? I know we all have different struggles. That was a big struggle for me, the being still and the quieting the negative Nelly.
Absolutely. one of the things that I have in my human design chart is an open throat. And that makes me really dislike silence in a conversation. I will fill that gap with chatter every time, which isn't always the right thing to do. And sometimes you don't even have anything important to say. So that's one of the areas I struggled with for a long time, is really stopping and listening and allowing the silence to be my friend. And, it's comforting to me now. I happen to really love being alone. I don't get enough of it sometimes, which is now I'm on the other end of the spectrum. But it's important to love being with yourself. And you can do nothing. You can just sit there and daydream. Matter of fact, daydreaming is one of the most critical elements that you can have in order to move yourself forward. Because in order to get the things that you want attracted into your life, it's all about daydreaming and then feeling the feelings that you would have if you had them, and creating, this really intense feeling around what you want. That helps to attract it to you. So daydreaming and just doing things of that nature that are, a lot of people would say, don't daydream. Like, did your parents ever say to you, what are you doing? Stop thinking about where are you? You're not even here. That's
Yeah.
right. I'm not. And I'm in my special place. Leave me alone.
Oh, I like that one. Dana and the family about, I don't know, 12 years ago bought me one of those kind of large fake stones. It's not a real stone, but it looks like it. And engraved, and it says, welcome to La La Land. Because there's a certain area of the yard that when I go sit out there, I guess they've called me in the past, like, hey, dinner's ready. And I'm like, gone. I'm in my
Yep.
world. So they back then they go, oh, I think she's back in La La Land. And I go, it's a magical place. You should all visit. And that's where my inner peace is. It's exactly what you just described, right? It's that place where I'm alone with myself. I'm alone with my visions. I'm tapped into my heart, and it's closing out the outside world. And I believe that is what's causing so much more damage. People don't know how to shut off the outside world and everything coming at them between media,
Yeah.
life. Things are going so fast. It isn't like 20 years ago. That I
Right.
think our brains get overwhelmed, our nervous system get overwhelmed. So I believe it's just an important part of our spiritual and healing journey to be still.
It is, because we are human beings, not human doings. And I hear a lot of people say, well, I can't do that. I can't meditate. My mind wanders. I can't do this. I don't have time to sit still. Start with 10 seconds. It doesn't have to be a big deal. You don't have to meditate. Just sit there and let your mind wander. That's how it starts. And over time, you'll get better and better, and your time being still will get longer and longer, and you'll start to cultivate that. But those types of natural ways of being have kind of been drilled out of us because we're all about doing. What have you done? What are you doing? That's the question of the day. And it's not really what's important. It's how you're being. How you're being is the most important thing. And, that's another aspect of human design. Each energy that you have in your chart, some energies you have when you're with others, you sort of absorb them and amplify them when people are around you. Others you have in your chart that are more fixed, you have them all the time. But you want to be sure and live in the highest expression of those energies. I call it a light side and a shadow side. For example, there's an energy called impact, and it's what you would imagine it to be. What kind of an impact do you want to make? If you have that particular energy, you might be using your impact to save the world, to do things of service and be, all about the greater good. But if you're coming from a place of low expression of that energy, you might be doing things just to make yourself feel better or look good. You may be living in a place of fear or lack, and therefore you're not able to express the highest level of that energy. So that's an important aspect of sitting with yourself too, is understanding, okay, yeah, review the events of the day. How did I respond to that? Did I react from fear? Did I, get into my head and something came up from my past that tainted my view of it? Or did I just see it for what it was and, understood it and let go of it and didn't let it negatively impact me so that I could live the higher expression of that energy. So important. That's pretty deep human design work. That's not where we start in a reading, but that's what you can do with this tool is you can really augment the energies and get yourself to a place of higher expression. It's very, very powerful.
And as I said earlier, this is a place we all yearn to be, at peace with ourselves, right? And present in our own life. So we're going to take another break, Nancy, and we will be right back. I am with Nancy OKeefe of nancyokeefecoaching.com. Be sure to swing by our website, check out her transformational free gift and her services and offerings. We'll be back in a moment.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM radio network.
Are you designing your life or living by default? Discover your soul's unique human design and be empowered to live the life you were meant for. Nancy OKeefe, certified human design specialist, intuitive transformational coach, and compassionate transformer, helps women like you peel back the layers of who they've been taught to be to reveal who they truly are so they can create the life of their dreams. Nancy knows firsthand that anything is possible. She divinely designed her life and went from receptionist to company VP and on to founder and CEO of her own multi-seven-figure firm. Nancy has been developing and coaching people for over 25 years and is passionate about helping them understand their divine design, embrace who they are, and live their best life. Schedule your complimentary call today at nancyokeefecoaching.com.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Healing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Healing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Me, a cat, moving in with a new human. It took a little getting used to. She has these weird games she likes to play, like this giant feather. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. It's almost like she thinks I enjoy it. But seeing how much fun she gets out of it, well, I guess it makes it all worth it. Humans.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM radio network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm so excited that you're circling up with me today and my special guest, Nancy OKeefe. Right before the break, Nancy was sharing, why it's so important to trust your inner wisdom, what happens when you don't, and also the importance of being. She shared that powerful trust acronym, which I have written down right here. And the part about being and being present, and right before the break, you said something about reacting. That really hits home. Mm-hmm. That was me all those years. When I was young, I was in a story in my head. So everything was a reaction. And now I can it's almost like I'm a witness. I don't know if that's the right language, but that's what it feels like to me. And I'll say it's a much more peaceful place to be.
I love that, a witness. That's great, because you're right. If you let your emotions get a hold of you and you get triggered, then you're in a place of reaction. And that never goes as well as if you're giving yourself that objective observer view of what's going on, taking the time. We have a lot more time in situations than we believe we do. Taking a pause before you speak. The feelings in your body, the aligned feelings in your body come very quickly if you're able to hear them. That takes a little practice sometimes. But once you are in that space where you get those gut reactions and you tune into those feelings, you have that listening within yourself, then you know what's right for you. It comes very quickly, doesn't it, Linda?
It does. It's for me, all my decisions are snap now. But I've been doing on the path for 30 years.
Right.
But it all began with taking a baby step.
And once you're in that place where you can, tap in, you've got all the time in the world before you need to respond. So don't make a knee-jerk reaction and react by saying something that's not going to serve the situation or you, or make you feel bad later. Just give yourself a moment, take a deep breath, pause, and the right thing will just bubble up if you let it.
Yeah, you just brought back a memory I haven't thought of for 30 years. I was in counseling. I remember the counselor. She was amazing. Her name was Linda, too. And I was struggling with reacting, right? Because I had a lot of trauma triggers from my childhood. And I remember her saying, a reaction, when you feel you must say something, then you're in the reactionary stage. And the word you just used, Nancy, when it just bubbles up from within, that's a presence. That's being there. But when she said, when you get that feeling like you must say something, then it's coming from the place you don't want to be responding from.
I love that.
Yeah, and I remember going, because you want to know why I loved it, Nancy, and why it made such an impact 30 years later still, is I didn't know how to stop it before it came out of my mouth. But that one statement made me see, oh, I'm getting that feeling. I want to say this to that person. It helped me identify what it felt like in my body before I reacted. Then it became my conscious choice, right? Are you going to react and cause more damage? Are you going to sit and hold and respond from love? I loved your description when you said you'll know, like, if it's a line, because it kind of bubbles up. It's loving and gentle. That must feeling was not loving and gentle.
Right.
So yeah, that was that helped me kind of shift things. And your description really helped identify for people what it feels like in their body, right?
Yes.
It's a gentler feeling when you're in a conversation with someone. It's a gentler feeling when you're coming from a place of love. It feels different in your body than
Absolutely.
if it's a trauma trigger or, your own patterns. So yeah, I think that was really important for you to share. So thank you.
You're welcome. One of the little clues you can get is, where are you tensing up in your body? Are your shoulders up around your ears? Is your jaw clenched? Look at your hands. How are they? Are they in fists? There are physical clues that you can see if you look.
Oh yeah. If I don't speak my truth, or if I'm in a conversation that could become reactionary for me, it hits me right in my solar plexus. That's where I feel it. And so I've learned to identify mine. So, one of the things that you use all the time, and I just want to grab it because I had it in front of me. I heard you mention something in a private conversation and on your website, something about discovering your divine life story. When I saw that, I'm like, ooh, I love that. So how does human design help us do that?
Well, a divine life story is a type of reading that I do, and it has to do with, it's really a very comprehensive look at how you're wired. So it talks about type, it talks about your circuitry, your gates, everything that makes up your chart. And I weave it into a story so that I can almost tell you a story about yourself. And stories are very powerful because it helps us remember things, and it helps us really sort of get into the feelings that go with those things. So as I did your divine life story, and we went through, you were reliving really your life, and you were finding things along the way that were like validating for you because, oh yeah, that. And I bet a lot of circumstances came up while I was doing the reading that gave you an understanding of maybe why some things happened the way they did. And the divine life story, I find, is just a really great tool for, telling you the story of you, which some of us have forgotten our story, or we've made up some other story, or people have influenced in a way that caused us to create a story that isn't true. And we live in our story, so it might as well be the right one that came from the divine.
Exactly. And the funny part is, when I heard that divine life story, when I saw that phrase, it just really resonated with me, because we all make up stories about ourselves, as you just shared, right? And sometimes they're the disempowering ones. And when I saw the phrase and saw your offering called Discover Your Divine Life Story, I read it immediately as discover the truth of who you are because you've forgotten.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And yeah. So what I want to talk about is, when we hear the phrase living the highest expression of your energies, and I know you talk about that and we've had conversations, but for those who are listening, what does that mean? The highest expression of your energies?
Well, think of it as, sort of like a playing card. If you look on one side, you see the suit, the number. On the other side, you see the back of the card. So your highest expression of your energy is one side of the card, and your lower expression is the other side of the card. The lower expression usually comes from a place of fear or a place of lack, or, as I mentioned, some trauma that you had. And by the way, trauma doesn't necessarily have to be something like a car accident or a near-death experience. Trauma can be anything that made you feel really bad about yourself, and that's stuck with you to the point where it's impacting or influencing your decisions and what you do in life because of that incident. Could be some word someone said to you. It doesn't even have to be an event. So when you're, looking at things with a lens that shows you your traumas and the negative things that may have occurred around this particular energy, sometimes we can live out an expression of it that comes from a place of lack. I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. My self-worth, my confidence, my ability to be loved and accepted. Those are the things that act out, if you will. And, they can act out in ways that are mostly hurtful for you, but it can also impact how your relationships are with others and what success you might have. If you're so focused on the low expression, you're expending a lot of energy being in almost like a protection mode, as opposed to letting yourself be free and giving yourself the opportunity to be curious and explore the possibilities and be more open to what the universe might bring to you. So it's a very limiting aspect of the energy when you live in the shadow side. And it's something you can change by just becoming aware of it, and then learning to catch yourself if you're starting to say things or act in a way that is not in the highest expression. It's a constant journey. It's not something that you can just flip a switch and say, okay, I'm going to be in the highest expression of this energy today and forevermore. No, I mean, we all get triggered. Things happen in our life. We see horrific things in the news. All of that can impact us. So it's a constant need to be vigilant about how we're reacting to things. Are we responding in a way that's in our highest and best interest, or are we reacting in a way that is a lower expression of that energy?
It's a great way to describe it, because then it allows us to tap into our feelings and see where we are. I'd say up to my 30s, 35, I was high anxiety, depression, victimhood. That was my energy. And I got to say something. It's funny that I say that because I keep getting corrected. That was my energy as I felt it, Nancy, right?
That's how you were expressing your energy. Yes.
Yeah. But when I run into people like that have known me all my life, and they run in and they're like, oh my God, you're still the most positive person. You have never changed. I'm like, what is she talking about? And I see now, I guess I never projected that out, but inside myself for 35 years, that was the energy. And now I feel like what's on the outside and what's on the inside is congruent. Does that make sense?
Yes, because that's really what alignment is all about. So many of us have something different on the outside. We wear that facade, that mask. The best example I can think of is work, because hardly any of us are actually ourselves at work. We're whatever the culture where we work requires us to be. Maybe you don't feel particularly well someday, but you got to go in and put a smile on your face and blah, blah, blah if you're in customer service. So we're not always acting in our aligned way. And that's very prevalent everywhere in our life. We may see distant relatives occasionally on Thanksgiving, Christmas, what have you, and we'll act differently around them than we do with our best friends, as an example. Because again, it all comes from a place of judgment, fear, and not being confident in who you are. One of the great things, I mean, you mentioned my bio. I'm at the let's say the fall of my life, and one of the really great things I've discovered about age is that you get to a point in your life where you really don't care what anyone else thinks. I just wish we could all get there sooner because it's so freeing and so beautiful to be able to be in a position to express yourself. That is the greatest freedom in the world, is to be yourself and be able to creatively express that. And I see human design as a tool that helps you get there sooner. So you don't have to wait until you're in your late 60s before you feel like you're, at a place where you can just say, you know what, great, that's not for me. Thanks for asking, but I'm going to go off and do this other thing. I'm going to wear the clothes I feel comfortable in. I'm not going to stick my feet in pointy, high-heeled shoes that hurt. There's no one in the world that could have been comfortable in those kinds of shoes that they made us wear to work all the time. So, it's just, there's so much freedom in being yourself, and it takes no effort to be who you truly are. It takes a lot of effort to get there, maybe, but it doesn't take much effort to stay there once you're there.
So true. And this resonates with my own personal journey. We're going to take a final break. We'll be back in a moment with Nancy OKeefe of nancyokeefecoaching.com.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM radio network.
Do you feel overwhelmed and unsure about what steps to take to find peace, joy, and purpose in your life? Chris Groth is a spiritual mentor, energy healer, and best-selling author of the novel Soliloquy, a novel of healing, soul connection, and passion, and co-author of several best-selling books. Chris is passionate about helping women connect more deeply to their own truth, to promote healing, and restore balance to the body, heart, mind, and soul, so they can live a soul-connected life. Chris serves clients around the world through spiritual mentoring sessions, energy healings, and powerful custom-guided sound healing meditations that bring in the energy of crystal singing bowls. If you're ready to heal your heart, nurture your soul, and illuminate your path, schedule a complimentary virtual session with Chris today at chrisgroth.com. That's Chris with a K and GROTH.com.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM radio network.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and with me today is Nancy OKeefe. So, Nancy, right before the break, you were saying, talking about living authentically, taking off the mask. And just as we were breaking, I got this feeling inside my body that, when you hold I'm trying to think, a beach ball and you're trying to hold it underwater, right?
Mm-hmm.
It takes so much damn energy to hold that thing under. And I use that analogy of that's how much energy we're using. We're in masks, not being ourselves. It takes more energy to be someone we're not than it is to just release the darn ball, release the energy, and show up fully. And I know that from personal experience. I said, Nancy, you know me. I think I'm the most open, laid-back person. And I just show up. And those who love me, right? It's this place of peace now. But
right.
That's what it used to feel like when I was younger. It's like, oh my God, I can't let them know that part about myself. They'll think I'm quirky or that I'm, all the stories we tell ourselves. Do you find that too in regard to energy, that it is?
Absolutely. Oh. And the beach ball is a great metaphor for that, because when you're trying to hold that beach ball underwater, you're so focused on that, you're missing all the other good possibilities for yourself. And then if it slips out, the first thing that we think of is, oh, did anyone see that? I got to get it back under the water. We're constantly in a state of being judged. When you let go of all that and you live in alignment with who you are, then you're in a position where none of that matters. If the beach ball pops out of the water, well, why was I holding it down there in the first place? And if it pops out, you just laugh about it. You just have to get to a place where the only thing that matters is you. And I'm not saying that in a selfish way. I'm just saying that in an aligned way. What you need, want, you deserve to get, you deserve to be, and you shouldn't allow yourself to be in a situation where you constantly have to be something you're not, because that can be, frankly, unhealthy on a lot of levels.
And on top of it, too, unhealthy on a lot of levels for me, I was in relationships in the past. I've been with my honey now for 27 years. Remember the show with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts? She was the runaway bride.
Yes.
And she did the egg thing. He said,
Yep.
What kind of eggs you like? She goes, I don't know. He goes, what do you mean? She used to always just eat what the other person was eating.
Exactly.
When he put all those eggs out and then she's trying them, I remember crying, going, I have become whoever that person wanted me to be. I was in 3 long-term relationships, but each one, it was a LL Bean girl, a high-heeled suit girl. It wasn't me.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think, especially for women, we go not just in our relationships with a spouse, but we go, oh, this is who I am here. This is who I am here. And the more you do that, and I'll only speak from personal experience, the more you give up the truth of who you are. And it's a journey to come back and find yourself. You got to remove all those stories and masks. Has that been your experience with clients too, Nancy?
Absolutely. And that's why we can end up in a job we hate and don't ever leave it, or in a relationship that's not in our best interest and stay in it way too long. These are all symptoms of being out of alignment and not true to yourself. So, one of the things that I like to share with people that's so important, we touched on it, is making those aligned choices, learning what your right decision-making center is and practice using it so that you will feel immediately the minute somebody says something to you, the minute that you are in a situation that doesn't feel right, once you begin to listen to that and understand it and trust it, then you will find yourself in situations that are more aligned with you and will allow you that creative expression to be yourself. You won't have to feel like you need to stay in a bad job or a bad relationship or do something that's goes against your grain just to be loved and accepted. You'll understand that being you is the best way to be loved and accepted. And somehow we have gotten far afield of that. And it's my hope that human design can be a tool that we use to help us get back there.
Oh, it is a tool. I'm going to tell you, it's a powerful one. And, I still talk about, you've been on calls, I talk about my meeting with you. I'm like gushing because there was so much information in it. And before we come to the end, Nancy, I want to make sure I let everyone know that you have an amazing free gift on your website called 3 Sacred Gifts You Can Learn from Your Human Design Chart. And it's, empowers you to create the abundant, joyful, and successful life you are meant to. And as the description says, once you discover your human design energy type, you learn to co-create and navigate life from your heart and inner truth. So everyone, I want to invite you to go to nancyokeefecoaching.com, claim that free gift. And Nancy, is there anything else you'd like to share or invite them or let them know about?
Yes, I would just like to say finally to remember this. You are divinely designed and you are perfect the way you are. If anyone out there feels like they're broken or they need to fix themselves in some way, if I just lose 10 pounds, if I just do this, if I just do that, that is just not the way to think about yourself. You are perfect the way you are. You don't need fixing. It's great to be on a quest to learn new things, but you don't need to be on a quest to fix anything about yourself. And that's really, if you sit with that for a minute, that's the beginning of really learning to love yourself. And that's what this is all about.
Beautiful message to leave our friends with. I want to invite everyone again. Think about this. If there was a tool that would help you have a deeper understanding of yourself, how you navigate life, give yourself that gift. At least take the first step, visit a website, download that free gift I told you about, because, everyone knows my life journey. I kept taking baby steps to the life that I had in my heart. And it was when I came into alignment that my outer world began to match my inner world. Our outer world, in case you're struggling with something out there, can't change till our inner world does. Would you agree, Nancy?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that my journey, a lot of you write me and touch base going, how did you do it? Well, I'm doing these shows for you guys so I can show you the ways I did it. Human design is a tool. When I bring you these experts and this wisdom, don't just listen to these conversations, take action. Visit Nancy at nancyokeefecoaching.com. Dive in, learn more about human design. If you feel led, schedule a session with her. It's transformational, but transformation can't happen if you're not taking inspired action. You can take in all these radio shows, all the books and magazines and everything else that you want, but you have to take the next step. And I invite you to do that, because I'll tell you what's waiting for you on the other side, my beautiful friends, is worth it. So Nancy, thank you for being here today. And everyone, until next time, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness, my friends.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.